Commander Vexthor of the Caldarian Empire had seen many battles in his long life. His 4 eyes had watched entire star systems fall. He had seen great fleets destroyed and brave warriors make their final stands. For 300 years he had served his empire with honor. But nothing in all those years prepared him for what he was about to see. The battle above the planet Epsilon 7 had been going on for 6 hours. The Caldarian Third Fleet had trapped the Tarian forces in a perfect position. 200 Caldarian warships surrounded the enemy. Victory was certain. The Tarians were outnumbered and outgunned. Their calls for help went unanswered. They were alone and they would soon be defeated. Then everything changed. The humans came. A young officer named Kelvas saw them first on the sensors. 3 ships appeared at the edge of the star system. They were moving fast, too fast for ships of their size. Vexthor felt annoyed when he heard the report. Humans, the galaxy's newest species to travel among the stars. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 60 years ago. They were like children playing with toys they did not understand. Ignore them, Vexthor said to his crew. 3 ships cannot change anything here. Those words would haunt him for the rest of his life. The human ships looked strange to Caldarian eyes. They were not beautiful like proper warships. They looked rough and brutal, covered in thick armor and large weapons. The design was simple and violent. The lead ship sent out a message on all communication channels. A human woman spoke in perfect Caldarian language. Her voice was calm and steady. "This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the Earth Defense Force ship Retribution. You are attacking our allies. Stop your attack now or we will stop you." Vexthor almost laughed. 3 ships against 200. The humans were either very brave or very foolish. Probably foolish. Send them a message. "Tell them to leave or we will destroy them," the human captain answered quickly. "We understand. You have made a mistake." What happened next would be taught in military schools for many years to come. The 3 human ships charged straight toward the Caldarian fleet. They did not try to dodge or hide. They just flew directly at the 200 warships waiting for them. Vexthor watched in shock as his fleet fired everything they had at the approaching ships. Hundreds of energy weapons and missiles filled the space between them. The humans did not slow down. Their shields glowed bright white as they absorbed the attacks. The punishment should have destroyed them instantly, but the shields held. Then the humans fired back. Their weapons were different from anything Vexthor had ever seen. They fired solid metal projectiles that moved at incredible speeds. Each piece of metal carried as much energy as a falling asteroid. The first Caldarian cruiser exploded into nothing. It was torn apart by metal moving at nearly the speed of light. "All ships fire at the lead human ship," Vexthor ordered. His confidence was starting to break. "Focus everything on that one target." The entire Caldarian fleet turned their weapons on the ship called Retribution. The space around it became a storm of fire and explosions. For a moment, Vexthor felt hope. No ship could survive this much firepower. No shield in the galaxy could withstand such an attack. Then the Retribution came through the fire. Its shield still held, and it fired back with terrible force. The second human ship, commanded by someone named Jake Patterson, cut through the right side of the Caldarian formation. Its weapons were precise and deadly. It aimed at engines and command centers with perfect accuracy. Ships that had served the Empire for decades became dead metal hulks in seconds. The third human ship, led by Captain Chris Bailey, released something that made Vexthor's blood turn cold. Small fighter craft poured out, dozens of them. Each one had a single human pilot inside. They moved through the battle like hunting animals. They were too fast for the defense systems to hit. There were too many to track. Each fighter carried weapons designed for one thing: getting close and causing maximum damage. Vexthor could only watch as his fleet fell apart. The pride of the Caldarian Empire was being destroyed piece by piece. The humans fought with a wild fury that made no sense. They pressed attacks that should have killed them. They survived through better technology and crazy bravery that seemed insane. But the technology was not what scared Vexthor the most. What truly frightened him was what he heard when his crew intercepted the human communications. The human pilots were laughing. In the middle of this death and destruction, facing odds that would break any other species, they were having fun. "All ships, retreat," Vexthor finally said. His voice sounded empty and defeated. "Everyone pull back. Leave now." His flagship turned and ran, joining what was left of the once mighty fleet. As they fled, Vexthor understood something important about humans. They did not fight wars the way civilized species did. They did not calculate risks and acceptable losses. They fought like everything depended on this one battle. They fought with an intensity that said they had nothing to lose and everything to gain. He had watched humans enter the battlefield. Now he understood why the galaxy was starting to fear them. It was not just their weapons or their ships. It was something deeper. Humans fought like they were born to do it. They fought like war was in their very nature. As his damaged ship limped away from Epsilon 7, Vexthor made a decision. He would study these humans. He would learn everything about them. Because one thing was certain. Humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy in the loudest way possible. And the galaxy would never be the same again. Part 2. The reputation spreads. The news of the Epsilon 7 engagement spread through the galactic community like wildfire. In council chambers and military command centers across 100 worlds, the recording of the battle was played and replayed, analyzed and debated. The consensus was almost universal. The Caldarian report must be exaggerated. 3 ships could not have routed an entire fleet. Ambassador Krenal of the Severan Concordat watched the footage for the 7th time in his private quarters aboard the diplomatic station orbiting New Geneva. The Severans were an ancient race, their civilization spanning millennia. They had seen empires rise and fall, witnessed the birth and death of stars. They considered themselves above the petty conflicts of younger species. Krenal paused the footage at the moment the human ship Retribution emerged from what should have been certain destruction. He zoomed in on the vessel's hull, noting the scorch marks and carbon scoring that spoke of incredible thermal stress. The shields had held barely, but the ship itself had absorbed punishment that would have pulverized most known spacecraft. The door to his quarters chimed. "Enter," he called, closing the display. His aide, a younger Severan named Talvor, stepped inside. "Ambassador, the human delegation has arrived for the council meeting. They're requesting an audience." Krenal's sensory tendrils twitched with interest. "Show them in." The human who entered was not what he expected. After watching the brutal efficiency of human warfare, he had anticipated someone harsh, militaristic. Instead, he found himself facing a calm woman with graying hair and kind eyes. She wore simple civilian attire, not a uniform. "Ambassador Krenal," she said, bowing slightly in the Severan custom. "I'm Linda Gray, representing Earth's diplomatic corps. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Please sit." Krenal gestured to a chair designed for bipedal species. "I must confess, Representative Gray, your timing is fortuitous. The entire council is discussing your people." Linda settled into the chair with a sigh. "I imagine they are. The Epsilon 7 incident has caused quite a stir." Incident. Krenal's tendrils rippled with what might have been amusement. "You destroyed or disabled 63 Caldarian warships with only 3 vessels of your own. Many species are calling it a massacre." "The Caldarians were attacking our allies," Linda replied, her voice calm but firm. "We gave them the opportunity to withdraw peacefully. They chose to escalate." "Indeed." Krenal poured 2 glasses of water, offering one to his guest. "Tell me, Representative Gray, where did humanity learn to fight like this? Your species has only been traveling the stars for what, 60 of your years?" Linda took a sip of water before responding. "We've been fighting each other for thousands of years, Ambassador. We learned warfare on a planet where resources were scarce and survival was never guaranteed. We fought over land, over water, over ideas. We nearly destroyed ourselves dozens of times before we finally learned to cooperate. And this gives you an advantage?" "It gives us perspective," Linda said. "We know what real desperation looks like. We understand that sometimes you have to stand your ground, even when the odds are against you. Most species in the galaxy evolved on more hospitable worlds than Earth. They became spacefaring before they had to learn the hard lessons we did." Krenal was quiet for a moment, considering her words. "The Council is concerned. They fear that humanity will become a destabilizing force in galactic politics." "We don't want to destabilize anything," Linda assured him. "We just want to protect ourselves and our allies. But we won't be pushed around by empires that think might makes right." Before Krenal could respond, his communication console chimed urgently. He frowned, tapping the control. "Yes? Ambassador, we have a situation." Talvor's voice came through, strained with tension. The news about what happened at Epsilon 7 spread fast across the galaxy. In government buildings and military bases on 100 different worlds, the recording of the battle played over and over. Leaders watched and debated what they saw. Most of them agreed on one thing. The Caldarian report must be wrong. 3 ships could not defeat an entire fleet. It was impossible. Ambassador Krenal of the Severan Concordat sat in his private room on the diplomatic station near Earth. The Severans were an old species. Their civilization had existed for thousands of years. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had watched stars be born and die. They thought they knew everything about war and peace. Krenal watched the battle footage for the 7th time. He stopped the video at the moment the human ship Retribution came through the wall of fire that should have destroyed it. He looked closely at the ship's outer shell. He could see burn marks and damage. The shields had barely held. The ship itself had taken punishment that would have destroyed most spacecraft in the galaxy. Someone knocked on his door. "Come in," he called out, turning off the video screen. His assistant, a younger Severan named Talvor, stepped inside. "Ambassador, the human delegation is here. They want to meet with you." Krenal felt curious. "Send them in." The human who entered was not what he expected. After watching how brutal and efficient humans were in combat, he thought their representative would be cold and military. Instead, he saw a calm woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She wore normal civilian clothes, not a uniform. "Ambassador Krenal," she said, bowing slightly in the Severan way of showing respect. "I am Linda Gray. I represent Earth's diplomatic team. Thank you for meeting with me." "Please sit down," Krenal said, pointing to a chair made for species with 2 legs. "I must be honest, Representative Gray, your timing is interesting. The entire council is talking about your people." Linda sat down with a tired sigh. "I imagine they are. The fight at Epsilon 7 has caused quite a stir." "Fight." Krenal's sensory organs moved in what might have been a smile. "You destroyed or damaged 63 Caldarian warships with only 3 vessels. Many species are calling it a slaughter. The Caldarians were attacking our allies," Linda said calmly but firmly. "We gave them a chance to leave peacefully. They chose to fight instead." "Indeed." Krenal poured 2 glasses of water and offered one to Linda. "Tell me, Representative Gray, where did humanity learn to fight like this? Your species has only been traveling in space for about 60 of your years, correct?" Linda took a drink of water before answering. "We have been fighting each other for thousands of years, Ambassador. We learned about war on a planet where resources were limited and survival was never easy. We fought over land, over water, over ideas and beliefs. We almost destroyed ourselves many times before we finally learned to work together. And this gives you an advantage? It gives us perspective," Linda explained. "We know what real desperation looks like. We understand that sometimes you have to stand your ground, even when everything seems hopeless. Most species in the galaxy evolved on easier worlds than Earth. They became space travelers before they had to learn the hard lessons we did." Krenal was quiet for a moment, thinking about her words. "The Council is worried. They fear that humanity will disrupt the peace we have maintained." "We do not want to cause problems," Linda assured him. "We just want to protect ourselves and our friends. But we will not be bullied by empires that think power makes them right." Before Krenal could respond, his communication device made an urgent sound. He frowned and pressed a button. "Yes?" "Ambassador, we have a serious situation." Talvor's voice came through, sounding stressed. "The Vokran hegemony has just declared war on the Tarian Republic. They are sending their fleets." Linda stood up immediately. "The Tarians are our allies." "I know," Krenal said, his body going stiff with worry. "The Vokran have wanted to control the Tarian home system for a long time. They must think that what happened at Epsilon 7 was just luck. They believe humanity cannot do it again. Then they are about to learn they are wrong," Linda said quietly. "How many ships are the Vokran sending?" "Our intelligence says 500 warships. This includes their entire dreadnought fleet. 10 massive capital ships, each one more powerful than anything humanity currently has." Krenal looked at the human representative with concern. "What will your people do?" Linda activated her own communication device. "This is Gray to Earth Command. Authorization code Delta 77. The Vokran have declared war on the Tarians. What ships do we have nearby?" The response came quickly. "Ma'am, we can get the second fleet to the Tarian home system in 18 hours. That is 12 ships under Admiral Pete Ross. Send them immediately," Linda ordered. "And tell the Admiral that everyone in the galaxy is watching. We need to show them what we can do." After she ended the communication, Krenal spoke softly. 12 ships against 500. Even after Epsilon 7, those odds seem impossible. Linda looked at him with an expression that made the old ambassador feel cold. It was the look of someone who had faced impossible odds before and survived. You do not know humans very well yet, Ambassador. We are good at doing impossible things. Over the next day, Krenal would learn just how right she was. He would also begin to understand something about humanity. Throughout their history, their most dangerous enemies had always been other humans. A species that fought each other with such intensity naturally brought that same power to any fight. The galaxy was about to watch humans enter another battlefield, and this time, everyone would be paying attention. Krenal spent the next hours reviewing everything he could find about Earth and its people. The more he learned, the more he understood why humans were so different. Their home planet was classified as a death world by galactic standards. The gravity was heavy. The weather was violent and unpredictable. The native animals included predators that hunted in groups and prey animals that would fight to the death, rather than surrender. But what struck Krenal most was human history. They had fought thousands of wars among themselves. They had built weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. They had come close to extinction multiple times, yet somehow they had survived. They had learned. They had grown. And now they were bringing all that hard-won knowledge to the galactic stage. The ambassador watched the live feed as the human Second Fleet approached the Tarian system. 12 ships against 500. The Vokran fleet was already attacking, their weapons tearing apart Tarian defenses. It looked like the Tarians would fall within hours. Then the humans arrived and everything changed again. Admiral Pete Ross stood on the bridge of his ship, the Defiance. He looked at the tactical display with experienced eyes. The Vokran fleet had arranged itself around the Tarian home system in a classic attack formation. They clearly expected to win through sheer numbers and firepower. It was a strategy that had worked for them many times over the centuries. They had never fought humans before. "Give me a status report," Ross commanded. His voice was rough from 40 years of military service. "All ships are ready, Admiral," said Commander Kate Murphy, his second-in-command. "The Tarians have pulled their defense fleet back to protect their inner planets." "They are taking heavy damage, sir," Ross nodded. On the display, he could see the desperate last stand of the Tarian forces. They were brave, but they had no chance against the Vokran's overwhelming numbers. It was time to change the situation. Open a channel to the fleet. All frequencies. When the light showed he was broadcasting, Ross spoke clearly. "This is Admiral Ross to all ships. We are about to fight a force that outnumbers us 40-1. They think those odds mean something. They think we will turn around and run. They are wrong." He paused to let his words sink in. "Every single one of you volunteered for this mission. You knew what we were facing. You came anyway because that is what humans do. We stand up for our friends no matter the cost." He pulled up an image on his screen, a photo from the battle at Epsilon 7. Captain Lisa Morgan and the Third Fleet showed the galaxy what we can do. Now it is our turn. We are not here to survive. We are here to win. Do you understand? A chorus of voices came back from the 11 other ships. Everyone agreed. Ross smiled grimly. "Good, execute attack pattern Ross 7. Remember, we are not trapped here with them. They are trapped here with us. All ships, attack." The Second Fleet accelerated toward the Vokran formation like bullets from a gun. Ross had studied every battle humanity had ever fought, from ancient wars with swords and spears to the terrible conflicts of the 20th and 21st centuries. He understood something that most galactic species had forgotten. Technology mattered, yes, but tactics and determination mattered more. The Vokran responded exactly as he predicted. They turned their fleet to surround and destroy the human ships. It was the standard response to a smaller force. It was also exactly what Ross wanted them to do. "Now, Commander Murphy, execute Phase 2. The 12 human ships suddenly broke apart, each one accelerating in a different direction at maximum speed. The Vokran fleet, caught in the middle of repositioning, struggled to maintain order. Their formation broke apart as different groups tried to chase different targets. And that was when Ross showed them what human carrier warfare really meant. Launch all fighters, all bombers, everything we have." The bay doors of the Defiance and the 3 other carriers in his fleet opened wide. A swarm of small craft poured into space. 300 fighters and bombers, each one piloted by a human who had trained their entire adult life for this moment. They were not drones like most civilized species used. They were people. Individuals who could make quick decisions, adapt to changing situations, and take risks that no computer would ever accept. Lieutenant Greg Palmer led the first fighter wing. His craft was designated Raptor 1. He had flown combat missions over Earth's oceans during the Unity Wars, back before humanity had even dreamed of traveling to other stars. Now he was diving toward a Vokran battlecruiser that was bigger than his entire home city. "Raptor Wing, follow me," he transmitted. "We are going for the command tower. Murphy, take your squadron and hit their engines. Let us make this count." The Vokran defense systems opened fire, filling space with energy bolts and explosive shells. 3 fighters disappeared in the first wave of fire. Greg did not slow down. He could not. The moment you hesitated in combat was the moment you died. His fighter shook as a near miss sent pieces of metal scraping across his shields. Red warning lights flashed on his control panel. He ignored them. The command tower was straight ahead, a weak point sticking out from the battlecruiser's main body. He locked his missiles and fired, following up with his railgun, pouring everything his small craft could carry into that single target. The tower exploded in a satisfying ball of fire. Behind him, Murphy's squadron destroyed the battlecruiser's main engines. Without command and control, without the ability to move, the massive ship was effectively dead in space. 1 down, 499 to go. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human pilots threw themselves against impossible odds, not because they were not afraid, but because they understood the cost of failure. If the Vokran won here, the Tarians would be enslaved or killed. And after that, the Vokran would come for Earth. That was unacceptable. Admiral Ross watched the battle unfold from the bridge, making small changes to his fleet's positions, sending squadrons to exploit weaknesses, ordering ships to protect each other. It was like conducting a symphony of destruction, and he had been training for this performance his entire life. "Admiral, the Vokran are pulling back their dreadnoughts," Commander Murphy reported. "They are trying to create a defensive wall." Ross studied the tactical display. The 10 Vokran dreadnoughts were moving into position, forming a protective barrier between his forces and the main body of their fleet. Smart. Those ships were nearly impossible for fighters to damage, and they carried enough firepower to destroy a continent. "Then we will have to deal with them directly," Ross said. He opened a channel to his capital ships. "Battleship Group, target the dreadnought line. I want a full strike with every heavy weapon we have. Carriers, prepare to pull back all fighters immediately. This is going to get dangerous." What Ross was about to attempt broke every rule of space warfare that had been established over 10,000 years of galactic civilization. You did not charge dreadnoughts with smaller ships. It was suicide. The math did not work. The armor was too thick, the shields too strong, the weapons too devastating. But Ross had noticed something about galactic warfare during his time among the stars. Everyone fought the same way. Long-range engagement, careful preservation of ships, calculated risk assessment. No one ever did anything crazy. Humans specialized in crazy. All ships full acceleration. Target the center of the dreadnought line. Override all safety systems. I want every bit of power we can generate going into our forward shields. The human battleships, each one much smaller than the Vokran dreadnoughts, accelerated directly toward them. The Vokran opened fire at long range. Their massive energy weapons, capable of punching through normal shields like paper. The human shields held. Barely. Ross felt the Defiance shake under the impact of weapons. Fire that could have destroyed a small moon. Damage alarms screamed throughout the ship. The structural integrity of the forward sections dropped to dangerous levels. And still they accelerated, closing the distance, getting closer to those massive ships. 20,000 kilometers, Commander Murphy called out. 15,000. 10,000. Fire everything, Ross ordered. At point-blank range, the human fleet unleashed every weapon they had. Missiles, railguns, plasma cannons, particle beams, and weapons that galactic civilization had banned centuries ago as too destructive. The concentrated firepower of 4 human battleships struck a single Vokran dreadnought at the same time. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The dreadnought's shields glowed brilliant white, struggling under the assault. Then they collapsed, and the full fury of human weapons reached the ship's hull. The dreadnought broke in half. Its reactor failed, creating a miniature sun that briefly outshone the system's actual star. "Pull back, scatter formation," Ross commanded. "Fighters, resume attack. Hit them while they are confused." The Vokran fleet was indeed confused. They had just watched a force of 12 ships destroy one of their most powerful vessels and damage 2 others. The humans had done it by getting close and refusing to die. It was insane. It made no tactical sense. It was terrifyingly effective. 3 weeks after the Battle of Tarian Prime, as everyone now called it, the Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. Representatives from 43 different species gathered in the Great Chamber on the neutral world of Concordia. Their ships filled the space above the planet like a massive fleet. Ambassador Kreenal took his place with the Severon delegation. He could feel the tension in the chamber. The humans had been invited to attend, and everyone knew this meeting would decide humanity's place in galactic civilization. Chancellor Vorlek, a Mendorian whose species had led the council for 3 centuries, called the meeting to order. We are here to discuss the human question. In less than 1 month, this species has fought in 2 major military actions. They destroyed nearly 400 vessels belonging to established powers. The chamber erupted in noise as representatives spoke over each other in dozens of different languages. Vorlek allowed it to continue for a moment before calling for silence. The chair recognizes Ambassador Trelvor of the Vokran hegemony. A tall reptilian figure stood up. Its scales were deep red, showing its barely controlled anger. The humans are a threat to galactic peace. They involve themselves in conflicts that are not their concern. They use military power far beyond what their technology level should allow. They fight with savagery and ignore civilized rules of war. The chair recognizes Representative Linda Gray of Earth. Linda stood calmly. Her small size seemed insignificant among the gathered aliens. Ambassador Trelvor is correct about one thing. We do involve ourselves in conflicts, but only when our allies are threatened by aggressors. The Caldarians were attacking the Tarians. Your own hegemony declared war on the Tarian Republic. We simply helped our friends defend themselves by destroying our ships. Trelvor's voice rose with emotion. You killed thousands of Vokran warriors. We gave you every chance to withdraw, Linda replied calmly. In both battles, human forces offered terms for peaceful resolution before a single shot was fired. You chose to fight. We chose to win. Another representative stood up, this one from the Quellan sovereignty. The concern, Representative Gray, is not that you won. It is how you won. Your tactics are reckless. You sacrifice your own people without hesitation. You take risks no rational species would consider. Linda's expression became hard. Perhaps that is because we come from a world where playing it safe meant death. Earth is a harsh planet. Our history is filled with natural disasters, predators, diseases, and resources so scarce that we fought wars over water and food. We learned early that sometimes survival requires sacrifice. Kreenal found himself standing up, drawing surprised looks from his fellow Severons. May I speak to the council? Chancellor Vorlek nodded. The chair recognizes Ambassador Kreenal of the Severon Concordat. I have studied the humans extensively since they joined our galactic community, Kreenal began. I have watched recordings of their battles. I have read their histories. I have spoken with their representatives, and I have reached a conclusion that may surprise many of you. He paused, letting the silence grow. We are not dealing with a typical emerging species. We are dealing with a species that evolved under conditions most of us cannot imagine. Their homeworld is classified as a death world by our own standards. The gravity is punishing. The weather is violent. The native life forms include predators that hunt in packs and prey animals that will fight to the death rather than give up. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably. Death worlds were rare, and species that evolved on them were considered naturally dangerous. But here is what I have learned, Kreenal continued. Despite their violent origins, despite their ability to wage war, humans are not naturally aggressive. They are protective. There is a difference. In all my research, I found that humans are most dangerous not when they are attacking, but when they are defending something or someone they care about. He gestured toward Linda. The humans could have ignored the Caldarian attack on the Tarians. It was not their fight, but the Tarians had offered them friendship and shared technology and knowledge. So the humans responded as they always do when someone threatens their friends. With overwhelming force. You defend them? Trelvor demanded. After what they did to our fleet? I defend the principle of proportional response, Kreenal replied. Your hegemony invaded a sovereign system with 500 warships. The Tarians had no chance of survival. The humans balanced the odds. Chancellor Vorlek raised a hand. This debate could continue forever. The council must make a decision. The question before us is simple. Do we accept humanity as a member of the galactic community, or do we classify them as a threat to be contained? Containment is not an option, another voice spoke up. It was Admiral Kexlan of the Drethanar Coalition, a military power that had stayed neutral in the recent conflicts. I have reviewed the tactical data from both battles. The humans are not just dangerous because of their willingness to sacrifice. They are dangerous because they innovate, they adapt, they improvise. In the Battle of Tarian Prime, they used their fighter craft in ways we have never seen. They turned their numerical disadvantage into a tactical advantage. He looked around the chamber. If we attempt containment, we will have war. And based on what I have seen, that is a war we may not win. The chamber fell silent at those words. The idea that humanity, with their handful of ships and their single planet, could threaten the combined might of the Galactic Council seemed absurd. Except everyone present had watched the same battle recordings. They had seen 3 ships defeat 200, 12 ships defeat 500. The numbers did not make sense. But the results were real. Linda spoke into the silence. Earth does not want war with anyone. We just want to be left alone to explore, to learn, to build friendships with other species. But we will not stand by while bullies prey on the weak. We will not abandon our allies, and we will not back down from threats. She met the eyes of every representative who would look at her. You are afraid of us. I understand that. We are afraid of ourselves sometimes. Humans have nearly destroyed our own civilization more than once, but we learned from those mistakes. We learned that cooperation is better than conflict. That diversity makes us stronger. That peace is worth fighting for. A contradiction, someone muttered. Peace worth fighting for. Only to those who have never had to fight for their survival, Linda replied. We know what real war looks like. We know what it costs. That is exactly why we work so hard to avoid it. But when pushed, when defending ourselves or our friends, we will fight with everything we have. Chancellor Vorlek consulted with his advisors for several minutes before speaking. The council will vote. The motion before us is this. Shall humanity be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and responsibilities that come with it? The vote took less than a minute. When it was done, Vorlek's expression was neutral. The motion passes. Humanity is recognized as a full member of the galactic community. Representative Gray, your people are welcome among us. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions. Some species showed approval while others protested. Linda simply bowed respectfully and returned to her seat. Later, as the delegates left the chamber, Kreenal approached Linda. Congratulations, Representative. Though I suspect your troubles are only beginning. Linda smiled tiredly. Probably. But we will handle it. We always do. I'm curious about something, Kreenal said. Your military forces. How large is Earth's actual fleet? Linda was quiet for a moment. Right now, 57 ships capable of interstellar travel. 15 of those are combat vessels. Kreenal's body went rigid with shock. 15? The Kaldarians and Vokran together sent 700 ships against you. If they had known your true strength, they would have sent more ships, Linda finished. That is why we do not advertise our numbers. Better to let everyone think we have vast reserves waiting in the background. A bluff. The most important kind, Linda agreed. But it is not really about the numbers. It is about the quality of the people inside those ships. Give a human something worth fighting for, and they will find a way to win no matter the odds. 6 months had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. In that time, the galaxy had changed in ways both small and large. Species that once preyed on weaker neighbors now thought twice before starting wars. Trade disputes that might have turned violent were solved through talking. The simple possibility that humans might get involved had become a powerful deterrent. But peace was fragile, and there were always those who wanted to test it. Commander Vexthor, the Kaldarian officer who first encountered humanity at Epsilon 7, now found himself in an unlikely position. After the battle, he had been court-martialed for losing his fleet. But instead of execution or prison, he had been assigned to a new role, liaison to human forces. His superiors thought it was the perfect punishment. To serve those who had defeated him, they were wrong. Vexthor stood on the bridge of the human destroyer Guardian, watching as Captain Dan Wright worked with Kaldarian forces on a joint patrol. The human was young by Caldarian standards, barely 40 years old, but he commanded his ship with confidence and skill. "Commander Vexthor," Dan said, turning to face him. "We are approaching the disputed border region. This is where the Harkoni Syndicate has been raiding supply ships." Vexthor studied the tactical display. The Harkonis were pirates, outcasts from many species who had joined together into a dangerous fleet. They exploited the gaps between territories, striking fast and disappearing before defense forces could respond. "They are cowards," Vexthor said. "They will not face us directly." Dan smiled. "Then we will have to make them think we are not a threat. Guardian to the squadron, execute dispersal pattern, Charlie. Let us look like easy targets." Over the next hour, Vexthor watched as the human captain deliberately made his formation appear weak. Ships spread out, leaving gaps in their defensive coverage, traveling at reduced speed. To anyone watching, they looked like inexperienced crews making basic mistakes. "Contact," the tactical officer announced. 8 ships coming out of faster-than-light travel. They match Harkonis raider patterns. "Let them get closer," Dan ordered. "I want them committed to the attack." The pirate ships approached, clearly expecting easy prey. When they opened fire, their weapons barely scratched the Guardian's shields. Dan's expression turned cold. "Now they have made it personal. All ships execute trap protocol. Let us teach these pirates why raiding our convoys is a bad idea." The human vessels that had appeared scattered suddenly moved with perfect coordination. The ships that had looked vulnerable were actually positioned to create a perfect trap. The Harkonis raiders found themselves surrounded, outmaneuvered, and outgunned. It was over in minutes. 6 pirate ships were destroyed, 2 were captured intact. Not a single human vessel took serious damage. "Efficient," Vexthor observed. "You use their assumptions against them." "Sun Tzu," Dan replied, an ancient human military philosopher. He wrote that all warfare is based on deception. Appear weak when you are strong. Make your enemy think they have the advantage, then hit them when they are overconfident. Your species has studied war for a long time. Longer than we would like, Dan admitted. But that knowledge keeps us alive. It keeps our friends alive too. He gestured to the Caldarian ships that had worked with them. "Operating with your people has been educational, Commander. You fight with honor." Vexthor was surprised to find himself pleased by the compliment. 6 months ago, he had viewed humans as dangerous primitives. Now he saw them as warriors who fought not for conquest, but for protection. It was a subtle but important difference. Their patrol was interrupted by an urgent message from Earth Command. Linda Gray's face appeared on the screen, her expression serious. "Captain Wright, we have a situation. The Mendorian Empire has invaded the Quellan sovereignty. Early reports say over 1,000 ships are involved. They have already taken 3 Quellan systems." Dan's face became hard. "The Quellans were neutral. Why would the Mendorians attack them?" "Resources," Linda replied. "The Quellan systems are rich in exotic matter, necessary for advanced faster-than-light drives. The Mendorians want complete control. What are our orders?" "The Galactic Council is holding an emergency meeting. But the Quellans are asking for immediate help. Earth Command is sending the 1st and 3rd fleets, but they will not arrive for at least 3 days. You are the closest human vessels to Quellan space." Dan looked at his tactical display. The Guardian and her squadron, 5 ships total against 1,000. The odds were even worse than previous battles. It should have been impossible, should have been. "We are going," Dan said simply. "Captain, you do not have the authority," Linda began. "Ma'am, with respect. Those are people dying right now. Every hour we wait means more Quellan civilians killed or enslaved. We took an oath to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Dan's voice was firm. "We are going. You can court-martial me later if I survive." Vexthor saw something flicker across Linda's face. Pride, maybe, or recognition. "You are right, Captain. I will inform the Council. Try to stay alive long enough for reinforcements to arrive." After the transmission ended, Dan turned to Vexthor. "Commander, I cannot order you to come with us." "This is not your fight," Vexthor considered. 6 months ago, he would have refused without hesitation. The Quellans meant nothing to the Caldarian Empire. This was not his concern. But 6 months ago, he had not understood what it meant to fight alongside humans. "Captain Wright," he said formally, "I request permission to attach my ship to your squadron. We will face the Mendorians together." Dan smiled and extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Vexthor gripped it firmly. The journey to Quellan space took 14 hours at maximum faster-than-light speed. During that time, Dan held a meeting with all ship commanders, including Vexthor. "Let us be clear about what we are facing," Dan said, showing the tactical situation. "The Mendorians have committed their home fleet. Over 1,000 ships, including some of the most advanced vessels in the galaxy. They have blockaded the Quellan homeworld and are bombing military installations. We cannot defeat such a force," one of the human captains, Helen Brooks, stated. 6 ships against 1,000. "The numbers do not work." "The numbers never work," Dan replied. "But we are not here to defeat them. We are here to make them think twice, to show them that bullying weaker species has a cost." He looked at each commander. "I am not ordering anyone to do this. If you want to wait for the main fleet, I understand. But I am going in." Every single captain stayed. When they came out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Quellan system, the scale of destruction was immediately clear. Quellan defense stations were burning. Debris from destroyed ships filled the space around planets. And at the center of it all, the Mendorian fleet sat like a swarm of predators, systematically destroying the Quellan military. "Open a channel to the Mendorian flagship," Dan ordered. "All frequencies." When the connection was made, a Mendorian admiral appeared on screen. The species was insect-like, their compound eyes reflecting rainbow patterns. "Unknown vessels, you are entering a military exclusion zone. Leave immediately or be destroyed. This is Captain Dan Wright of the Earth Defense Force. You are attacking a sovereign species without reason. Stop your attack and withdraw or face the consequences." The Mendorian admiral's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. 6 ships? You bring 6 ships against my fleet and make demands? Humans, you are either brave or foolish." "Maybe both," Dan admitted. "But we are still here, and we are not leaving until you do." "Then you will die here," the admiral replied, cutting the connection. "All ships, battle stations," Dan ordered. "Commander Vexthor, I need your vessel to protect our flank." "Captain Brooks, your ship has the best electronic warfare systems. I want you jamming their targeting. Everyone else, we are going straight at them. Just like Epsilon 7, just like Terrian Prime." What followed was a battle that would be remembered as the Quellan Stand. 6 ships against 1,000, fighting not for victory, but for time. For every minute they held the Mendorians' attention, more Quellan civilians escaped. More defense installations were reinforced. More hope survived. Dan pushed his ship harder than it had ever been pushed. The Guardian dove into the Mendorian formation like a meteor, weapons blazing, shields flaring under incredible punishment. Around him, the other human ships and Vexthor's Caldarian cruiser fought with desperate courage. They could not win. Everyone knew it. But they could make the cost of victory too high. For 3 hours, the small squadron held their ground. 3 hours of constant combat that saw the Guardian's shields fail, her hull breached in multiple places, her crew fighting fires and sealing ruptures even as they kept firing at the enemy. 2 human ships were destroyed. Helen Brooks died when her vessel took a direct hit from a Mendorian capital ship. But in those 3 hours, they destroyed or disabled 47 Mendorian ships and damaged dozens more. More importantly, they proved something to the entire galaxy. Humans did not just fight for themselves. They fought for anyone who needed defending, regardless of the cost. When the First and Third Fleets finally arrived, coming out of faster-than-light travel like an avenging force, they found the Mendorians already in confusion. The sight of the battered human squadron still fighting, still refusing to yield, had shaken Mendorian confidence.